Hey, what is going on, everyone? I hope that you all are having a phenomenal day, and I hope that you are gearing up to have a great Thanksgiving. My family and I are enjoying ourselves. We're enjoying this time together somewhat. You know how that is when you're used to being at work and then you all together, but we're adjusting well right now. So, just wanted to hop on and talk about the student loan forgiveness update. As you all know, if you've been following me, we're debt free. We don't have any student loan debt. So all of my commentary regarding student loans are just informational. You know, I don't necessarily take one stance one way or another. So there are different forms of student loan forgiveness. Now, some of the student loan forgiveness, you know, comes from politicians who feel that, you know, people are drowning and they should have their student loans forgiven. Some people have said that all of them should be forgiven. I know recently that President Biden said that he was going to try to get 20,000 forgiven if you receive Pell Grants and 10,000 forgiven if you did not receive Pell Grants. And there are some other particulars as well. Some politicians have run on the platform that they're going to get all of your student loans forgiven. Obviously, we know that that's unrealistic. That's not going to happen because you're obviously going to have opposition to that, and it's not cheap to do that. So you're always going to have, you know, it's going to be a political football on both sides, right? Like one side is going to say, "Oh, we're going to forgive all your student loans," and everybody's going to cheer that on. Then the other side is going to say, "No, that's not going to happen. There's no way we're going to allow that to happen." So that's going to be a continual battle. But there are some student loan forgiveness programs that have always been available. We're talking about the teacher forgiveness program, and then we have the public service loan forgiveness program. So these are programs that people basically choose to go into a particular profession for, under the belief that after a certain amount of time, a certain amount of service that they put into their particular employer or their profession, that they will have a designated amount of money forgiven from their student loans. So for instance, my wife and I both decided to go into the lower income schools that a lot of people choose not to go into, because that's something, first of all, that we enjoyed that work. And we taught subjects like special ed, math, that automatically would qualify after 5 years of forgiveness, or after 5 years of service in a public school in a lower income neighborhood, and you teach one of those subjects, then you will get up to $17,500 forgiven from your loans. So when I chose back in around 2005, 2006 to do that, then I probably had, you know, north of $100,000 in student loans. After 5 years, the government basically wrote me a $17,500 check to wipe that amount clear. Same thing with my wife. My wife only had about 14,000 at the time, so she didn't get the whole 17.5. So she got the rest of her loans forgiven, but it wasn't 17.5. So that's one kind of loan where you say, okay, I'm going to go into this high needs school, this high needs area, and teach a critical needs subject, knowing that after I put my time in and I put my work in and it gets certified by somebody at central office, then I'm going to get $17,500 forgiven. The other one is the public service loan forgiveness program, where after 10 years of service, you are able to get your loans forgiven. Now, there were a lot of parameters, and this is the one that was controversial for a long time, because I think even President Obama started, but all they were really doing was saying, okay, we're going to get this public service loan forgiveness program the way that it's supposed to be. You're going to get credit for certain payments that you didn't get credit for before. So this is people saying, I'm going to be a lawyer for the, you know, for the state, or a lawyer for the city, rather than going to a private law firm. I'm going to willingly take less money, but I know after 10 years, then my loans will be forgiven. And there's a channel on YouTube, I think it's called One Big Happy Life, or One Happy Life, or One Big Happy, or something like that, where it's a lawyer, and she documented her journey as a lawyer, and she kept track of everything. She looked at the legality of her situation, and sure enough, after 10 years, she was able to get all of her loans forgiven. So as they went through their net worth journey, she always listed how much she owed in student loans. And after it was done, she just got this big $250,000 or $300,000 debt wiped out, as she was promised. It was something that she signed up for. She willingly knew that she was making less money to work for the government, and after the 10 years, it was forgiven. So you have those programs, and then you have the one where, the politicians are they just want people to have loans forgiven to provide some kind of relief. People, I think, lump them all together, but there are some legitimate programs out there that have always been around. But when you just lump everybody in and say everybody has to have their student loans forgiven, that's when everybody just really turns their nose up at everything. But there have always been, student loan forgiveness programs out. So recently, when we talk about the $20,000 and the $10,000 student loan forgiveness, it was just announced that basically President Biden is putting a pause on payments until, I believe, June or July of 2023, while they work out the legalities of the court, the protest or whatever with the last decision. And once they come to a conclusion there, then there's going to be 60 days for people to have no payment. So if they decide in January what the ultimate result's going to be, then you will have around March, April, when student loan payments will resume. But at the latest, it will be, I believe, July of 2023. What does that mean to you? Well, I've always said, since I think President Trump was the one who started with during the pandemic, started with the zero interest and no payments due deal, right? Because usually if you're not making payments on your student loans, that's a horrible thing, because the interest is continuing to accrue. So people think that, hey, if I'm getting this loan my freshman year in college, by the time I graduate as a senior, they're thinking, oh, it's okay. I haven't been making any payments, but they are not. Little do they know, as an 18-year-old, they signed up for this. At 22 years old, their loan has ballooned, not only because they have been getting more loans, but also because the interest is accruing quickly. It's compound interest in a negative way. It's compound interest on debt. So after the pandemic, after Trump basically said, hey, you guys are not going to pay any interest on the loans anymore, and you're not going to have any obligations to pay right now, then that's a great opportunity for you to utilize the debt snowball. Because now, you usually when you make these payments on your student loans, most of it is going to interest, but now everything is going to principal. So I know people I've seen on social media, I've seen some influencers who have legitimately been able to get out of student loan debt because everything is going to principal. So here's my advice. My advice is this: if you are somebody that is in one of these programs, such as public loan forgiveness or teacher loan forgiveness, and you know that after either 5 to 10 years, you'll have the opportunity to get those loans forgiven, or a certain amount of loans forgiven, I say make the minimum payment on them and then put everything else into like a money market account or the stock market or something like that, and assuming that if everything is forgiven, cool, you have this big chunk of money over there. Same thing with the $20,000 or $10,000. Hey, instead of not making any payments on your loans, I would say you just continue to pay yourself, put it in some kind of account, put it in an interest-bearing account. And if they say, hey, you're not going to have your loans forgiven, cool, you got that money right there, pay it off immediately. If they say your loan's forgiven, now you have this chunk of money that will basically help you to, go to the next step in your journey, whether you're doing a baby steps or doing your own deal. the full financial order operations that Money Guy talks about. You just have a lot of flexibility, but under no circumstances do I think you shouldn't, pay yourself or do something related to paying off your student loans. I think, let's say you have $1,000 minimum payment on your student loans of $500, and if all these months later you stop paying and you haven't paid on anything and you haven't been saving that money, bad idea. You have missed out on a golden opportunity to at least reduce your debt rather than just allowing it to stay where it was. But hey, student loan forgiveness, something that people aren't going to agree on. But like I said, there are some programs that have always been out there, and there are incentives for going into those programs. You're trying to attract people to these particular professions and careers, because think about it. How many doctors or how many lawyers would you have that will take less money to work, as public defenders or public, public servants, if you didn't have that kind of incentive to get them there? So I'm down for that. I'm down for that. There's nobody lying or anything. You're signing up. You know what you're signing up for. They give you your deal at the end of it, and it's all good. So hey, whether you have no student loan debt or you're completely debt free, or you have a ton of student loan debt, let me know what your comments are. Always, let's keep this thing civil. I appreciate the support. Thank you for viewing the channel, and I'd love to hear your feedback. Hey, y'all take it easy. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Take care.